everyone, and welcome back to Dreaming in Fibre. I am Sarah, your host from sarastexturecrafts.com, and it is March the 1st, 2013. So, what have you been up to? February went really quickly, didn't it? Yeah, I mean, here anyway, it just seemed to be one manic mess of lots of quite productive work, not a huge amount of sleep, and sort of went past in a real blur, really. So apologies if I'm looking a bit tired this morning. I will get to that shortly, but let's get the show started. So what's been happening here at HQ, I'm just going to look down at my notes to remind me, because I'm that tired I can't really think off the top of my head this morning, so bear with me. Okay, most of the month in terms of any dyeing and production that I could get done was spent working towards either custom listings or the Somerset Guild meeting that I have on March the 16th, which is, yeah, in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing a talk there just to the members of the Guild, really about how I started, who I am, what I do, that kind of thing, which seems probably to many of you who know me a bit redundant, because those of you who go to the Guild who know me will know that I've been there a few times now, so you've seen products and wares, and you probably know me from other venues, and I know some of you watch the podcast as well, so it does sort of feel a little bit redundant, but actually I think it's going to be a good opportunity to sort of talk to you a bit more about really how I started down this road, and you know, the parts I like about my job in terms of, you know, sort of creation and those things that really sort of inspire me, and then to show you some new things, some new colourways and that in terms of products. So I'm hoping that will go really well. Normally things like this, I mean, this will be the first time I've actually sort of stood up and done a talk, as it were, but I have been invited to guilds to you know, sort of be a stall that people, you know, sort of come and visit and pick up things, either at Fleece Day events or where they've just invited me along to their usual monthly meeting, just to be something else to get the members sort of interested and working on new things. So it should be quite an interesting mix of something that I'm used to and something new for me. As I say, I don't normally do these kind of talks, so apart from going through the basics of how I got started and what I'm doing now and the kind of products that I work with, it's a difficult one to plan for, because normally I always stand up and talk about you know, like sort of demo a particular subject like needle felting or something like that. So we shall see how that goes. I'm sure it will go fine. As I say, I've been to the Somerset Guild a few times now, so it will be a really nice opportunity to say hi to some familiar faces and hopefully meet some new ones. I also got accepted into Wonderwall Wales this year and into Fibre East this year. I was missing from both events last year and have done both of them previously. Last year I missed them because obviously the booking forms for these came out whilst I was pregnant, and because I was on the at-risk list, it meant that I was restricted as to how much travel I could do. Unfortunately, after the miscarriage, I wasn't really in the situation, or I guess really the sort of emotional inclination to do too many shows. I wasn't really ready for it, so I didn't try and sign myself onto reserve lists for those shows. So it's really quite nice to be accepted back this time, because you never know when you take sort of a year of absence, whatever the reason, whether you'll get back into the shows, because they are very oversubscribed. You know, they do have huge long waiting lists. So I was very lucky to get back into both. So I'm extremely appreciative to Chrissy of Wonderwall Wales and to Jan of Fibre East for considering my application this year, and for them and their teams for it to accept me. So I'm looking forward to both of those. Wonderwall Wales, as you know, is in April. I should just look up here for the dates. That's the 27th and 28th of April, so right at the end. Then Fibre East, they moved their date because they've moved location. It's in July, and now that is the 27th and 28th of July, so at the end of the month there as well. Both are really great venues, so I hope to take lots of video while I'm there. If you remember last year, although I didn't show at Wonderwall Wales, I did do a bit of a video tour because I went as a visitor. So it will be quite nice to show you this year what it's like as to go there as a seller. And it'd be quite nice because I haven't shown you Fibre East, and I know that other British podcasts have probably spoken about Fibre East, but I don't know that there's any sort of video out there of what the show looks like. So it'll be quite a nice experience if you're thinking of coming to the show in the future and want to get a glimpse of what it looks like first. And obviously if you're overseas, it's always quite nice to see what the British shows look like as well. Okay, also behind the scenes, I've been trying at least one day a week to work on my new website. I think I mentioned this briefly last month. The reason why I'm working on a new website is because I've kind of got to the stage where the back end of my existing website is really slow and clunky. This morning I did the shop update, and what is normally the click of a button if I were to shop update on Etsy, in that I pre-prepare all of my draft listings and then I just bulk activate them, if you like. The back end of my website works very differently, and I have to literally go into each single one and activate it in a certain way for it to show up, and for it to show up on the home page. This of course takes a lot of time, so it means something that really takes me a matter of seconds, if you like, to activate on Etsy will take me anywhere up to an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours on my website, depending on the size of the shop update. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of time taking out of my day to do something that really, at that stage of having created all of the listings and taken all the photos and things like that, should really just be the click of a button. And that's just one aspect of how slow and clunky the back end of my current website is. So it's become kind of painful every time I really need to do some update work on that, particularly at the beginning of February I noticed it, because updating the prices on products, I again literally have to go into every listing and update those pricings in a certain way. So updating prices on Etsy might take me an hour, 2 hours to do, depending on how much I have active at any one time, because sometimes I can have about 200 products on my Etsy shop. On my website, that can take me 4 days. In fact, this time I think it almost took me an entire week to do that, which is just crazy. It's a week out of my time. It means less dyeing or carding or producing some other thing, or less opportunity for me to spend time sort of advertising and that kind of thing. And it's really got to the point where enough is enough, really. So I am working on a new website. It won't mean a huge amount for you, other than hopefully it will be a much more condensed version. I've already started working on adding products to that website, and so I've condensed some of those listings. So for example, on the Merino 64s tops, I've listed every colour separately on the current website. On the new website you'll find that all the pinks are put together under one listing, purples under another, reds under another, and so on. So you've got, you know, probably 7 listings where you had 70 listings, so it should hopefully make life a lot easier. Also on the new website you'll find that I've been able to get more sort of variation in the product offer. So for example, again with the Merino 64s, I know some of you, particularly who work on very small scale needle felting projects, or use merino for surface textile decoration, that kind of thing, or even just want a sample, you just want a tiny amount of said colour. So in that instance, I have now been able to, with the new website, give you a way of buying 10 grams as your sample length. You then still have 25 grams, 50 grams, 100 grams. I'm introducing a 250 gram amount, a 500 gram amount and a kilo. You will find the difference in purchasing price between the 10 grams and the kilos per colour works out to about 45% off. So for those of you who have been talking to me behind the scenes about sort of wholesale prices for teachers, workshops, that kind of thing, then this is how you're going to be able to do it. Just come onto the website as normal, but instead of buying 10 grams or 50 grams per colour, go for, you know, like 500 grams or a kilo, and that's where you're going to start making your savings. I would love to say to you, well, if you order a kilo, generally I'll give you 10% off, but unfortunately it doesn't work like that, because I don't buy like that with my suppliers. I have to buy X amount per colour, and then their discounts increment per fibre per colour, so those are the discounts that I can pass on. So at any rate, that will now be available for you on the new website. That is currently available to a certain extent on my website as it currently stands, but for this new website I've really managed to even out those discounted amounts, and I've made those discounted amounts go sort of across the board for many of my fibres and things, so it's a much more beneficial sort of wholesale approach for those teachers and workshop owners. If you're a bricks and mortar shop, then contact me, because there's a certain amount of branding that will need to be done in terms of wrap cards and that kind of thing, so that you can display things correctly in your store. So that will be a different approach. Again, the prices will be probably as they are on the website, but there may possibly, if I think it's feasible, there may be some sort of exclusivity thing that I can give to bricks and mortar shops that nobody else can have. So you'll have a bit of an advantage there. That website, I'm hoping, will go live by the end of May. Sorry, excuse the tractors and the Arctic trucks. It's apparently quite busy today. Who would have thought it? It's Friday, normally it's very quiet, but anyway. So I've completely lost my train of thought now. Oh, I'm so tired, honestly. Which probably brings me quite nice and neatly to the sort of personal stuff that's gone on this month. One of which is the car. The car is currently sitting in the garage. I don't know if you remember me saying before, it was probably the January podcast, when I said that on Christmas Eve the car broke down and we had to have a breakdown service come and sort things out for us. Well, something else has gone wrong now. It's got to the point where we know we desperately need a new car, but we don't have the funds. And that's it really. So we know that, you know, any money that we pay to the garage now for fixing whatever's wrong with the car is just wasting money, but it's cheaper. Well, I'm hoping it'll be a lot cheaper than buying a new car. Unfortunately, the car we need we can't quite afford at the moment, so it's one of those things. What do you do? Hopefully sell more, lots more, so I can make enough money to buy a car. Fingers crossed. Thanks for your help. No, just kidding. It's one of those things. You know, everyone's feeling the pinch at the moment. It's it's that time of year, but also the economy is such, and with the heating prices going up and things, I think it's going to be a sort of recurring theme in many households across the country for the foreseeable future. So it's one of those things we'll have to deal with and just put up with and rectify as soon as we can. On top of that, I've had teeth issues again, which brings us back to Christmas Eve again. If you remember, I had to go to the dentist. I came up with an infectious lump on my face. And she said to me then, it probably looks like it needs to be a root canal, but various reasons at the time I couldn't take. She couldn't obviously take me in and do the root canal that day, so it meant coming back. We couldn't do it in January for various reasons, so it was a case of going in February and getting the x-rays done and things, and finding out the extent of the damage. On Christmas Eve, she had drilled and packed the tooth with antibiotics and put a temporary filling over the top, which was fine. That sort of did the trick. I have to say I really wasn't very well, because I'm really not very good with dental antibiotics at all. So I did kind of suffer with that, so I wasn't really looking forward to going back. When we took the x-rays, it turned out that a root canal was definitely the way we had to go. So put myself in. Originally it was going to be something like the 12th of March, and I'm like, God, are you kidding me? 4 days before I'm due in Somerset was just not really going to happen. But fortunately, it turned out that the dentist needed to do some overtime, so it got pushed forward to February, and I think it was, about 2 weeks ago now. Had that done, suffered a panic attack halfway through, which is kind of interesting when someone's in your mouth trying to perform a root canal surgery on you. Quite interesting to have a panic attack there. I kind of know where it came from. Obviously I was sort of worried about what was going on. It was just one of those things. It just sort of resulted in me sort of, going into a bit of a meltdown. She was very good, both her and her assistant, sort of very quickly calmed me down, made sure they opened all the windows and that kind of thing. And carried on with the work. And once we were finished, it was fine. I have to say she was fantastic. In the past I've had some dentists who have caused me nothing but absolute agony. Sorry, I thought that was a delivery van for me. So I didn't, when I actually came home from the anaesthetic, I felt very minimal pain. Obviously I was expecting, because they sort of kill the nerve when they do the root canal, I wasn't really expecting any pain at all from the nerve itself, because obviously you'd hope that it's dead. But I was expecting lots of bruising in the area and that kind of thing, and I have to say it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it would be equivalent to having like one of your wisdom teeth extracted, which I've had before, and it wasn't at all. So really confident in her work, which is one of the first times I've really felt confident in a dentist for a long time. So I was really pleased with the work she did. Unfortunately, it seemed to aggravate the problem as opposed to bringing down the infection. When we did the x-ray, we sort of found that there was a tiny area of aggravated cells in the mouth, and sort of just above the root, if you like, and she was hoping that by doing the root canal that would just sort of, and having had the antibiotics as well thereafter, it would sort of kill that, but it just didn't, and it got worse, and I ended up with the lump again in my face. So back down there a few days after, had some more antibiotics, of course. Okay, sorry about that, the obligatory phone call in the episode. So as I was saying, you got this infection back, and the dentist remembered that I was allergic to dental antibiotics, so she prescribed amoxicillin, which is like the sort of least invasive of antibiotics if you're allergic to them. And unfortunately for me, I don't normally get a reaction to amoxicillin at all, which is why I always say to doctors and dentists, please just give me amoxicillin, because I know that I'm going to be okay with that. This time was not okay. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was just a combination of being sort of overtired and sort of het up about having had all of this work done, and probably not feeling very well from having had the work done as well. But I just, man, I felt so ill. Red, itchy. Fortunately, the red itching sort of came and went quite quickly within the first few days of taking the antibiotics, and it sort of came in flushes as opposed to being there constantly, so it wasn't something I knew I had to go to hospital about. But also I found it very difficult to breathe. I felt so extremely nauseous. I felt dizzy. So tired as well. Tired. I guess because I couldn't really breathe properly. And it was just... It got to the point where I said to Darren, I'm going to have to stop working, and I'm going to have to take a couple of days where I just do the minimum of answering the phone, replying to emails, and just packing a few orders, because I just really don't feel like I can do anything else. In fact, I really probably shouldn't do that, but it's one of those things, when you work for yourself, you tend to sort of muddle on, as it were, because you are the only pair of hands, so it would have just meant a huge backlog of work when I come back. So unfortunately there were a couple of people who had made custom orders who I'd had to contact and say, oh, so sorry, I'm quite ill at the moment, this is the reason why, so it means that I'm not going to be able to get to your custom order this week. I'm going to put it back to next week and we'll see where we go from there. Fortunately I managed to get it done this last Tuesday, so it wasn't a huge delay, but it was enough of a delay for me to feel a bit, sort of naughty about it, if you like. So, fortunately, I didn't hear from one, but the other I heard back from, and she was very gracious about it. Of course, at the end of the day, there wasn't much they could do. I was ill, I couldn't do the work. So I'd said to them both, look, this is the situation. If this isn't okay, then my extreme apologies. Let me know and I can sort out a refund for you. That's really not a problem. I don't want anyone to be sort of hassled or inconvenienced because I can't get to the work, but unfortunately, that's the state of play. So it was, they had the offer there, and fortunately neither of them came forward and took that offer up, so I was able to get both custom orders done, as I say, last Tuesday, and they've now gone out, which is a good feeling. I'm now sort of up to date with that. But it also meant that I lost time dyeing for Fibre Club, prepping for Back Club, and I lost some time on production for the Somerset Guild. So, in with all of that, I wanted to spend a day dyeing stuff for this shop update that was due today, and it just got to the point where I just was like, there's no way I'm going to do that. So because of that, the shop update that I talk about later will have no hand-dyed braids in it. It will have some hand-dyed fleece that I dyed previously but wasn't dry until today. But there's no hand-dyed braids, I'm afraid. It's just one of those things. There will be next time, I promise, all being well, obviously. I've also had to take the custom listings down, and I will reinstate those after March the 16th, so probably on the 18th of March. And although I will be going on holiday the next week, I won't actually be going on holiday, I'll be at home working on the website, so I won't be physically dyeing that week. I will still be able to take custom orders that will dye the first week of April. And there's not normally, to be honest, around that time of year, too many custom orders. Because of Easter and things like that, normally people go away, so they're spending their money on that. So I'm not expecting to be sort of overrun on the first week of April, but we shall see. So that's the state of play with that. this month as well, the other disappointment for me was that I wanted to have my yarn range up and running, and I've dyed and feel confident in the semi-solid range. I just am still left to dye the variegated range, and I kind of want to launch them all together. So I'm now aiming for a release date of Wonderwool. So if you're coming to Wonderwool Wales, you'll be the first people to see those yarns. And then the first week of May, I will put them up in the shop update. They probably, all going well, of course, at Wonderwool Wales I'll be completely sold out, so it'll be a custom list option from the beginning of May, but we'll see. There might be the odd skein left. Until I get it out there, I'm not entirely sure how people will feel about it, but I think, I know from certainly from the variegated point of view, there will certainly be some that have done quite well for me when I've done them as one-off sort of batches, so we shall see. So yeah, that's kind of why all of that is kind of why I'm looking so shattered today. Had very little sleep last night, and the night before last, Darren, my other half, was due the next day to go to Guildford, so we had to stay up waiting for this hire car to turn up, because our car is in the garage and public transport from Crediton doesn't start till 8 in the morning. It would have meant he'd missed his train to get to Guildford from Exeter, because he needs to be on that train at, I think it was like 6:45, something like that. So anyway, the company hired a car for him, so we were expecting the car to arrive by the time Darren got home from work, so about 6:30, and they said it was fine, that I could sign for it and whatever, but it didn't turn up until much later than that. That night, I have no idea why, but I ended up having the most massive panic attack in the middle of the night. I don't know whether, again, it was because that day was was the first day I had stopped taking the antibiotics. So whilst I was feeling sort of a lot better and breathing a lot better and things, I don't know whether it was sort of the antibiotics coming out of my system in a way, or what really, I don't know. I know certainly my hormones are up, which tends to be the moment when I seem to get sort of panic attack episodes and so on. So I was really struggling with that, and I was trying to be really, really quiet about it as well, because of course I wanted Darren to get the best night's sleep, because he had to get up and drive from Devon to Guildford the next day, which I knew was a fairly long drive, because he'd have to drive back the same day as well, and then be able to concentrate while he was there, because it was a training course he was going on. And so I was desperately trying not to wake him up, but when you're aware that your breathing is so laboured that actually you're quite noisy about it, because for me, these sort of panic attacks, they come sort of in waves. I feel this hot, burning, real panic form in my belly and just surge up through me. By the time it gets to my head's thinking, oh my god, I'm going to be really ill, what if I'm ill tomorrow and Darren can't drive, and he's going to get into trouble with work if he has to stay home just because of me, I'm being so stupid, and getting to the point where I'm crying and sort of hyperventilating a bit and then calming myself down, and my breathing is becoming sort of laboured and hard, because I'm sort of panicking, and at the same time still sort of out of breath from having been on the antibiotics, then results in upset stomach, and dizziness and feeling sick, and and all of this, and I'm trying desperately to be really quiet. Of course, at the same time you're sort of flushing really hot and then really cold immediately afterwards, so I'm lying in the bed shaking, really like absolutely freezing cold to the core, Darren, fortunately, absolutely sound asleep beside me, snoring away, so I know that I didn't wake him too much, In fact, he didn't really come out of his coma at all, bless him. But yeah, I have absolutely no idea where it came from. So yesterday I felt like absolute poo. Real, just zombie mood on. And then, of course, last night when Darren got home, he was told by the hire company that after 8 o'clock they would come and pick up the car. We waited up until midnight. No one came for the car. This morning, no one came for the car. 8 o'clock this morning we knew that the office opened for the car rental, so Darren phoned up and said, look, what's going on? Oh, it's standard practice, we come and pick it up at some point the next day. He's like, what? I was told you would come around 8 p.m. No, we don't do that, we would never have said that. Really? So, I'm about to burst because I'm so tired, honestly, I could cry. And I just, I'm now having to wait around for this car rental company when they might be bothered to actually come and pick up their car. Crazy stuff. So, that's why I'm looking so tired. So it makes for a very poor podcast, so I'm sorry guys. On the upside to that, I do have some really cool things to talk about. So I was going to start with my very productive month in that I managed to get lots of sort of extra reviews and things out. So if you go to my Learn About Wool website, which is sarastexturecrafts.wordpress.com, you'll find that there's some new reviews and things up. I haven't had a chance to do any sort of tutorials or anything this month, but after the new website is up and running, I'll be much more able to do some new video tutorials, that kind of thing. So that I've got lots of ideas, lots of lists of things. If you've got any ideas, get in contact, let me know, because I'm always looking for new sort of ideas of things to put out there and create for you and help you in your crafting. But one of the key reviews that I wanted to talk about that actually was received quite well was my Spring/Summer 2013 knitwear review. In the first part of that I looked at colour, so I'm looking at what colours should be in the shops and should be in our sort of Spring/Summer collection sort of knitwear, if you like. Obviously, I know you and I as hand knitters at home probably would do knit some things because they're sort of fashion, but we're not probably as sort of overly conscious about making sure we're wearing exactly the right colours for the right season and the right fibres and so on. But I thought it would be quite interesting to explore those anyway with you because aside from the fact it just helps to sort of show that knitwear is a big part of fashion and what's happening on the high street, that kind of thing, but also it sort of gives us some new ideas and maybe some new colours that we might play with that we might not necessarily have otherwise chosen. So if you pop over to the Learn About Wool blog, you can find that review there and find those new colours there. I'm working behind the scenes on some shapes, and then I will be looking at stitch patterns and decorations and so on, and I'm going to link to patterns on Ravelry that I think would be great as Spring/Summer knitwear pieces. Now of course I'm not expecting anyone to sort of rush out and buy yarn and start knitting the shape of the month in the season's colours, but it's there if you want it, if you're interested. As I say, it was quite well received actually from some fashion bloggers and some of you who do get updates from that site regularly anyway. So I thought that was quite interesting to share with you today. Secondly, I wanted to give you a bit of a heads up on the latest book review that I did. That video again is up on that Learning About Wool website, but it's also on my Crafts of Texture blog, which is kind of my sort of daily blog about Life at HQ and so on. You can find that at sarastexturecrafts.blogspot.com. And there's a little competition that goes with this, which of course you are all free to enter. So I'm just going to reach over and completely unpreparedly, I've left everything off to the side, so bear with me. I'll get there in the end, I promise. Okay, so this is the book, Colour in Textiles, and it's the story of the colour in textiles. So it's a really good reference book that will sort of take you through the history of dyed textiles and how that's sort of affected communities, religion, how politics and financial factors played roles in textile development and so on. And it gives you a bit of hint as to when certain natural dyes became popularly used and mordants and that kind of thing, right through to modern day practices where they've used synthetic dyes such as acid dyes and so on. So it's a really nice reference book, and as I say, the full review is on the Crafts of Texture blog at sarastexturecrafts.blogspot.com, so check that out. The competition that runs alongside that is all detailed there as well, and the prize is 100 grams of wool, 3 little easy dye pots, so you get to learn how to dye your own wool top using 3 selected colours. I'll probably pop in some primary colours, but if I've got enough stock I will ask the winner to choose from what's available on the website. And you'll also get a tutorial sheet as well, which shows you how to mix up the dyes, how to paste them onto your wool, and then how to cook the wool, as it were, to set those dyes. So that's quite a nice little prize there, so hop on over and make sure you enter. When you go to the Crafts of Texture blog, there will be an enter my giveaway button there for you, so you can just hit that up, enter your details after having watched the video and answered the question. I think I said April the 1st or 2nd was going to be the cut-off date, but anyway, the details on that are all on that competition page for you. The next competition, yes, a second competition in a month. This is good stuff, guys. Is a bit of a sow cow, which is a spin along, knit along. Of course, I'm not sort of saying that you only have to knit your finished projects. You can of course crochet or weave them as well. But the idea is that, I'm just sorry, just leaning out of shot again. Let's start from the beginning. I've joined forces with Tabs from Rosie Retro. You can find her on Etsy, so I think if you type in www.rosieretro.etsy.com, you'll find her lovely shop. She is a hand dyer herself, so she dyes braids, yarn. She also makes some really fantastic little stitch markers, but she also makes cute project bags, one of which I've bought, and I also put a review up on the Crafts of Texture blog, which you can find there. So you can find out a bit more about the project bags themselves. But she wanted to do a little bit of a giveaway with me, so I thought it was a good opportunity for us to use it as an excuse to start spinning some of our existing stash and then take that through to a finished knitted, crocheted or woven project. So the idea is that you will get your braids. Now, it doesn't have to be hand dyed, it could be natural coloured fibre, it could be fleece, it could be bats, it could be rolags, it could be bought from me, bought from Rosie Retro, or it could be bought from somewhere else. You come and join that thread on Ravelry, take your place, spin along with us throughout this month of March. So by the end of March we will have yarn to play with in April. Now you can spin as much as you like. I don't mind whether it's just one thing or whether it's 101 things. but the only way that will count at the end of the competition is if you have a project to go with said yarn. So in April, the idea is that we will do our knit along, crochet along, weave along part of the competition, and you'll spend that time just creating your projects and talking along with us. Now I want you to use the thread to chat as much as you like about process, about what you're doing, ask questions of other people and how they're doing and making things. The important thing here is that we, have a bit of community fun, a bit of joy in our spinning and creation of final projects. And I want you to, if you want to use it maybe as an excuse to work through some of that stash that you have. Now, you don't have to go out and buy anything new for this. Sorry, I'm going to start losing my voice soon. You don't have to go out and buy anything new, but if you do, that's absolutely fine. I'm using this purely as a way to work on some of my existing stash, so I'm more than happy for you to do the same. If you do want to purchase from myself or from Rosie Retro and purchase your fibre that way and start spinning it, then you will get an extra point for your final entry. Every finished project will get a point. So the points basically turn into entries, if you like, within the competition. So if you've got 2 points, then I will write your name down as 2 entries. The winner at the end will just be picked at randomly, so it's not a competition on who spins and creates the most items from stash. I'm not looking for yardage or the person who's come up with the most ingenious final project. I'm just looking for an excuse to sit down and have some fun. Prizes. The lovely Tabs from Rosie Retro has given us a project bag. Now this is a cute little project bag that would be ideal for socks, hats, the starts of shawls, any small projects that you might want to take on the road with you as well. And I'm giving away a hand-dyed braid. Now I'm going to make it clear that whoever wins will get the choice to choose their own colour. I will custom dye. Sorry about that, the second phone call there. So as I was saying, I will custom dye from my colour card. You'll get a choice of bases and so on. So that's prize number 1. Prize number 2 is 100 grams of natural shade wool tops. So I have a range of products and I will talk to you about some really cool tops that I've got coming in, or that have just come in this morning for this month's shop update. So it's an excuse to get your hands on 100 grams of one of those, or one of the other natural shaded tops that I do. So there are quite a few rare breeds there and probably some things that you might not have tried before, so that's definitely worth spinning along just for that prize on its own. So that is the Sal Cow. I really would love you to come and join us on Ravelry. The whole thing will be hosted on Ravelry. You do have to be a member of the Ravelry group to win. I'm quite happy to ship worldwide, so don't worry about that. But yeah, it's really important that you're a member of the Ravelry group, just because I know that there will be a lot of Ravelry group members who will enter if they can, and because they've been with me for so long and they're great supporters of the business, I want to give them the opportunity to win. So if you watch this and you're not already a member of the Ravelry group, then do go along and join it, because I'm hoping that this will be the start of quite a few little spin-alongs, knit-alongs, that kind of thing, an excuse for you just to get your hands on some more fibre from me, free of charge. So check that out. I'm just going to take a short break now, and then I'm going to do a little video of the shop update for you. Just need to top up the battery on my iPhone, need to get a few bits and pieces together, And then right at the end I'm going to talk through some of my knitting projects this month, because if I've achieved nothing else in my personal life this month, I have been knitting like a demon, so stay tuned, we'll check that out. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, and welcome to March the 1st, 2013's shop update at sarastexturecrafts.com. Okay, so what do I have for you today? Well, I have some dyed fleece and some new Gotland fleece. You will have seen in the picture the variations of Gotland fleece shade. I've spoken about Gotland previously. It's a really lovely, lustrous, curly fibre. Works really great on felt making projects, needle felting, and is beautiful to spin. You do tend to get a bit of a halo to your finished yarn, but you also get the sort of sleek, lustrous effect that you would do with a long wool fibre. So it's a really, really nice fleece to work with. I have that in a medium dark and a medium colour. The two animals in question are Fern and Saskia Junior. Saskia, the elder, as it were, I had last year, and we used that fleece for Fleece Club. That's right. So she went down really well and quickly sold the rest of her on the website. So we now have her daughter for sale. And both fleeces are really great condition, really good curl definition as well. So those are up there. I did also take the opportunity to hand dye some Gotland lamb fleece in colour tourmaline, which you will have seen before, and you will also find on the website homepage as well. That has gone up in price from £3.50 to £4. For 50 grams, it was for 100 grams, it's now for 50 grams, and unfortunately that's because the cost of fleece itself has gone up somewhat. The lamb's fleece, let me just look for prices for you. For 50 grams it's £1.55, for 100 grams it's £2.85, and 250 grams it's £6.81. I think on one of the fleeces I have, I think it might be on Fern, I have more of a selection in terms of weight options, so the prices will all be on that listing for you. I do have also some dyed Wensleydale. This is the last of the Wensleydale. I apologise, I'm going to have to move the camera, it seems to be feeling extra tired for itself today. So let me see if I can, apologies for that, just fix that up there. See you better? So yeah, so some hand-dyed Wensleydale. That's the last of the clip until they shear again this year. We're looking at a shear date of, I think it's, let me just have a look, it's April usually, but obviously it depends on the weather. If it's anything like last year, they could run a month to a month and a half, 2 months late on shearing. So as soon as I can get that in, I will get that in. I will definitely have it in white. I don't know whether I'll have it in black this year, because the Wensleydale farmer who sold me her back fleece has sold up. They have taken retirement finally, which they are very much enjoying from what I understand. So the last of their fleece has gone, I'm afraid. Until I find another Wensleydale farmer that has some high quality black fleece, I won't be able to get that for you anymore. So the last opportunity you will see are these dyed black fleeces that I have for you. So let's have a look at those. I will show you some white Wensleydale fleece curls in colour Rusty Gate, and then on the right of that I will show you the same colourway dyed on the black Wensleydale. So I'll hold it quite close for you. That's the white Wensleydale here, and that's the black Wensleydale there. So you can see there is a difference in shading that it gives you even using the same dyes, but actually the black Wensleydale, you'd think looking at it, that's not going to take the dye very well, but it takes the dye wonderfully well, because of course the black fleece, quite similarly to Gotland, sorry I think I moved the camera there, quite similarly to Gotland does have a few white hairs in it, so it's quite easy to be able to get you know, some colour onto that. If I'd used a real true black Wensleydale, which just has the brown tipping, then I think we would have had a bit more difficulty in terms of getting colour onto it. But this particular black fleece was more on the grey side really. Took the dye beautifully. So I have white Wensleydale in Rusty Gate, black hand-dyed Wensleydale in Rusty Gate, and black hand-dyed fleece in coloured Dartmoor. Again, they will be £4 per 100 grams, and I'm just looking on that. Yep, £4 per 50 grams. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my brain today, but £4 per 50 grams. So I'll get those up and running from you. The other thing I managed to get hold of was some more merino pre-felt. I have this in colours on the website currently, but as from today I will have it in natural. I have it in 150 grams weight per metre and 400 grams per metre. Prices again are on the website. I'm trying to give you prices for fat quarter and a full metre, so depending on what it is you need, the prices will be up there. The difference, well, the 150 gram per metre, I'll just check for you, yeah, is 2 to 3 millimetres thickness, whereas the 400 grams per metre is, I think, 6 to 8 millimetres. So there's quite a difference in thickness. Now, what do you use pre-felt for, you ask? Well, if you watched a few months ago, I did show you my coloured pre-felt and the which they also call needle punch. I would mostly use those lighter weights, which the coloured ones is towards the lighter weight, probably for a light amount of embellishing onto, for certainly using in felt making as backgrounds or as cutout shapes onto, you know, say a scarf or something like that. And the 400 gram I would probably use more as a background, unless it's something that you really want to be a hard wearing piece of wet felt, because it is quite substantially thick and remains so. An example of that is my bunting here. That's all 400 grams weight pre-felt. So it's nice if you want to use it for something like that, something that's that needs to be quite substantial. And so I really am going to lose my voice. But it does make a really nice wet felt. The lighter of the two, probably better for backgrounds, so sort of lightweight scarves, stoles, that kind of thing. So I have those for you. What else do I have? Let me see. Oh, I know what I have for you. Yeah, I have my locally produced tops. Now, this started from a conversation I was having with Darren sort of the middle of last year, when I was probably at my height of sheep fleece buying, and Darren was like, you know, what are you going to do if you can't sell all this fleece? And I said to him, well, apart from the fact I know that come, you know, sort of February of next year, and here we are, I will be out of fleece. Which, if you go on the website, is pretty much the case. And I really don't have, I've kept a little tiny bit back of a few fleeces that have just been put aside for dyeing, for shows, and of course for the websites. But beyond that, I have nothing left to sell really. I think there's a little bit of a Shetland Mooret, and now of course there's the new Gotland, so we're starting to move into the new year. So I've had a really nice turnaround on those. But he was like, well, but what if you don't sell it all? And I said, well, I suppose what I could do is find a UK mill to work with, somebody who will work with small units and get it produced into tops. That way, particularly those overseas who couldn't buy into the fleece club, could then get hold of some of those fleeces in top form, because obviously that way it will pass through customs, because raw fleece is not allowed to pass through customs for certain countries in the world, which is totally fair enough. But unfortunately for Fleece Club, that's the way I provide my fleeces. I provide it raw so that you are going on the journey with me of learning how to wash your fleece, process it and spin it. So that could be an opportunity for them, and also for anybody else who maybe has a reaction to strong sort of sense of lanolin in a product. That could be a way for them to use it, and also for those who just don't have the time, space or energy to deal with raw fleece. Which, let's face it, there are always times when we'd rather not deal with a raw fleece, we'd rather just work with processed tops. And we were carrying on the conversation, and he was saying, well, but you could buy in mill-prepared tops that have come from wool from the wool board. And I said, well, yeah, I could do, but there will be two differences there. The mill-bought stuff, perfectly fine, but that's what I call like a standard top. And by that I mean that they've gone to the wool board, they've bought X amount of clip, they process it on bulk together. So what they're buying from the wool board will be a grade, if you like, of fleece, and the fleece will have been sorted into various grades via the wool board. So they'll buy it, and it will be everything within an acceptable tolerance for that grade. So you'll get some really great stuff for that grade, and you'll get some weaker stuff for that grade, all mixed in together with the stuff that's completely average for that grade. So what you end up with is a blend of this and that, as opposed to a blend of, say, really high, fine quality stuff. Which again is fine, that's what I call my standard go-to top. And I buy a lot of that. You yourselves will buy a lot of that, because that's what's easily available and at hand when you're buying online or at shows and that kind of thing. And he said, well, what would be the difference then, what would be the difference in hand feel then for you if you produced from fleeces that you picked? And I said, well, hopefully the outcome would be that the quality level that I'm picking in fleeces will be reflected in the top, and so you will feel and see a vast difference in the top preparation in terms of spinning, certainly, then if you compared it to a standard mill-bought top of the same breed. And he said, well, maybe you should think about that as a backup plan if it doesn't work. And I said, well, I know for a fact that I'll be able to sell all of the fleece, but it's a really good idea. Why don't we contact a UK mill, see if we can get someone to work with us on small quantities and send them just literally a few fleeces and see where we go from there. Let it come back and see where we go from there. If the worst comes to the worst, if I feel it's too expensive to put on as a handmade top, then I can use it to process and turn into carded bats for the shop, or I could spin it into yarn, and possibly I could keep some of it for me. As you do. So it's like, sounds great idea. Why don't you do that, and we'll see how it comes back. Let's just dive in and take the chance. So I said, right, okay. I had 4 good fleeces of Ryland. Now Ryland fleece for me, it sells in the shop, but it doesn't sell really quickly. So I knew that if I took off 4 of the fleeces I had, that wouldn't be the end of the world. In fact, it would probably save me washing it and dyeing it, because that was going to be something I was going to try this year. So I took off 4 of those, and I purposely chose 4 that were very different colours, because a coloured Ryland is in terms of variation of fleece options, not too far behind a Shetland, in that you can get some really different looking fleeces, and every fleece will be very different. So you can get one that's almost a jet black, to one that's a grey, or you can get an oatmeal one, a brownie one, and obviously as they blend you'll get one consistent colour across the top. So I decided to get those 4 fleeces processed. I also decided to put in an amount of the black Wensleydale, because I thought, well, I know for a fact that sometimes Wensleydale top can be quite hard to draft. It can be it can sort of condense quite easily. It's one of those fibres that people want to try, but once they've tried it, they're a bit like, I don't know that I love it. I don't know that I would go out of my way to buy Wensleydale top again to spin with. And so what I wanted to do was use both the Wensleydale and Ryland as an opportunity for you to retry those fibres in local top forms. So something that I've gone to the farm, I've selected, I've taken the time to process with a mill whose quality I like, and can offer them now back to you in top form at a price I think is workable. And so that's what I've done. So you have Wensleydale tops in black, a Ryland grey, a Ryland oatmeal, a Ryland brown and a Ryland black, and I'll pop that picture up just of those here. And as you can see, there's some really quite nice colour variation. Now the black, both of the Wensleydale and the Ryland, is not a true black, it's a very dark brown, sort of bitter chocolatey colour with black elements. So it's called black, but it's not a true jet black. Each of those colours are going to be really stunning to work with. Even the Ryland grey, I know some people are put off by grey, natural greys, but this is quite a brown grey, so it's a very warm grey, and I think going to be something that's very easy to wear. Of course, the grey, the oatmeal and the brown would take a certain amount of over dyeing in finished yarn or finished garment form, so that's also something you consider. But what I really wanted to show you was the beauty of these tops, because honestly they are so soft, it's like a baby's bum. So I'm just going to reach over and get the Wensleydale top, and I'll talk through that with you. Okay, so this is the Wensleydale top. Now, Wensleydale being a long wool, I was expecting, you know, a certain amount of crimp and floof to the fibre, and you've certainly got that here. I'll show that to you. Now, of course, because it's quite dark, you probably won't be able to see that, but let me just draw that out. I mean, hardly any effort at all. I mean, I'm not really touching it at all, and it's just drafting perfectly. It's going to spin like butter, and it's going to spin to lace as well. I just know that some people are going to get some really gorgeous lace shawls out of this. It really is wonderful, and honestly, if I could keep the vast amount I've got of it, then I would, but I can't keep that amount of kilos, I'll be honest with you. I think off the top of my head, she says, yeah, I think I've got just over 3 kilos of this. So once it's gone, because of course I won't be able to get black Ryland back. With the Wensleydale. With the Rylands, I will be able to get new clip this year. Now I'm just looking at my diary, and they are due to shear in April again. So all being well and weather being with us, I should hopefully have new fleeces in stock by May. So if I sell out of the Ryland tops quite quickly, then I will get some more of that processed in May. If not, then I'll get some more processed a little bit later on. But generally the turnaround is sort of anywhere from 4 to 6 months to get these tops produced. So it's quite a long waiting period to get the tops made, but I think for the quality, it's just unsurpassed, really. It really is unsurpassed. I mean, this is just so soft and squishy, and this little batch is all I get to keep for myself. Unless, of course, none of you buy it, and then I get to keep the whole lot. It will be Wensleydale everything. And the Ryland is the same as well. It's beautiful, buttery soft. It's just stunning stuff. It really is stunning. And the key thing about this is that I've been able to go to the farm. I've worked with the farmer to give them the best price I can possibly give them, which is, you know, I have to say, in some cases up to 4 times what they would be paid by the wool board. So we're actually getting to the point where some farmers now are really seeing their fleeces as a commodity rather than a pain in the bum that they have to get rid of once a year and in some cases burn. I mean, when I met one of the farmers who, which farmer is it? It was one of the Shetland farmers. Yeah, it was one of the Shetland farmers, and I met them, and he was burning his fleece at the time, and he was like, why on earth do you want fleece? So I explained what I do, and I took him some product to show, and we talked about it for a while, and he was like, okay, but, you know, you do understand that I get rid of this to the wool board, and so putting some aside for you and having you come down for the day to select what you want is going to be a bit of an inconvenience for me. And I'm like, don't look at it that way. Look at it that I'm offering you X amount, which I know for you is 5 times what the wool board are giving you, and then some actually. I won't inconvenience you at all. Just let me try it for this year. Let me buy X amount and let me show you that I can sell it, and that it is something that you could start to earn money from. And he's like, oh, I don't know, I really don't know, you know, it's going to be just time out of my day, and so on. In the end, I managed to talk him round, and he sold me these fleeces, and I took them all, sold out within 6 months, and which he couldn't believe, because he just didn't know that spinners and knitters would even be interested in his product. And now it's got to the stage where actually he goes to farmers markets and so on and takes fleece product with him. He has some of his fleece produced into yarn, which he sells. And it's just amazing to see that actually he's gone from burning his fleece now to actually seeing it as a commercial commodity. And so he takes much better care of the fleece while it's on the sheep as a result. So it means when I go to him, I know that I can get better quality fleece than I did last year. And it's been a real learning curve for the pair of us, but at the same time, it's so beneficial for all of us involved, and for you at the end of the day as the spinner and subsequent knitter, weaver or crocheter or felt maker even. So this is something that I really want to bring into the shop and really get to work. It is slightly more expensive than you would pay for a standard version that you would get from another from another retailer using one of the big UK mills. But as I say, the standard, the quality is so much more advanced than that standard top that it is worth paying that little bit extra for. So I say give it a go. Even if you just buy 100 grams to try it, then do it, because you're really not going to regret it. It is just beautiful to work with, and I'm going to keep doing this, I think, from now on. And when I go to the next farms, I mean, I think I'm gonna due to go to the Romney farm at some stage soon. Then I'm gonna go to the Zwables farm. Again, I'll be back at the Wensleydale farm, the Teeswater farms, the Massam farms, and I'm also been contacted by a Jacobs farmer, and so on. And it will just be an opportunity, I think, for us to get hold of some really great quality product, and it will really up our games in terms of our crafting as well. So do look out for those. They are extremely local, because I have to obviously be able to travel to these local farms and to work with these farmers, so I visit them on a fairly regular basis throughout the year. And then also they're produced by a British mill as well, so you can't get much more made in Britain than that. So try them, please try them, because they are beautiful, beautiful. And that was it really for the shop update. I didn't have too much more, as I say, because having that week or so out and still not feeling fantastic, it's just been a really hard time to get as much done as I would like to. So that was it really. So apologies for it being a smaller update, but next month I hope to you know, sort of get on the ball and have a little bit more for you as sort of a thank you for bearing with me, if you like. So knitted projects. You can see I've been pulling around with my hat today. This is one of my favourite knitted projects of the month. This I just did in a couple of days. This is my sockhead hat. I think everyone in the world at the moment is knitting a sockhead hat, and it was completely by accident that I ended up knitting one. I had no idea that as many other podcasters had been knitting them as possible, because I've been so behind with my podcasts until those few days off when I, you know, literally sat down and knit and watched podcasts and trying to recover. So me recommending it to you is probably like the 10th time you've heard it, but honestly I really do recommend it as a project. It's really nice, really easy to wear. I use less than one skein. In fact, I think I probably used only about 65 to 70% of a skein, of a sock skein. This is, if you go onto my Ravelry page, you'll have full details of where I bought the yarn. This is a hand-dyed yarn from a company in Germany. I bought directly via Dewanda, which is a European version of Etsy, if you like. Her prices were very reasonable. She has more than enough yarn to fill a small house with. So there's plenty to buy. I don't know that she necessarily repeats colourways, but she certainly has lots of new dye lots up there all the time, and I think she's now also dyeing Fibre as well, so that's another person to look out for you. If you go onto my Ravelry page, you'll be able to find all the links and details, and I completely recommend her. Her service was really good. The only thing I was a bit sort of not annoyed about, but a bit like cringed about, was when I receive a parcel, I don't know, I've bought yarn. If I open that parcel and it's just the yarn inside, they're not sort of interior packaged, then I get a bit worried, because, you know, sending as much stuff out as I do, I know that very occasionally things can run into trouble. They can get, you know, bags can get ripped and so on. So it's really important that, you know, what I send out is packed on the inside as well with some interior packaging. Ideally plastic, because if you put it in tissue and that gets wet, it's just going to disperse over the fibre and yarn, and it means everything is ruined. So by all means, pack it in lovely packaging, but pop it inside a plastic bag for me, and then pop it inside your mailing bag. It just means everything's nice and safe when it arrives. And I would rather be overly cautious in that respect than run the risk of having a problem and having something arrive to you damaged. As luck would have it, it wasn't damaged at all. They arrived perfectly fine. I bought, I think I bought 2 yarns. And what happened was one of the yarns was still listed by mistake, so she gave me the option of another colourway, and then she gave me a free sample as well to sort of make up for that. So I ended up with 3 skeins rather than the 2 I just bought. I think the 3rd skein was slightly shorter because it was like a sample version, but that, you know, it was fine. It was completely unnecessary but completely appreciated. She was great to communicate with. Obviously German is her first language, so there is, you know, always a little bit of a language barrier, but she's very keen to try and articulate herself well in English. I only wish I could speak better German to, you know, to sort of converse better. make it feel like I was making a little bit of effort on my end, you know. But she was there 100% of the time for any questions that I had. So it was great talking to her and working with her and buying her yarn. And the yarn was lovely to knit with as well. It does have a sock yarn. It didn't have... No, it did. I think it was a 20% blend of nylon or a synthetic. It might have been polyester. But it had a quite cottony feel as a sock yarn, which was something that I don't know, I'm used to wool feel, so having that cottony feel was a bit different for me, but actually it worked up very nicely and very easily, and the stitch definition was beautiful. So totally recommend that yarn, recommend the hat pattern, and loved it. As I say, it was a 2-day project. I think actually it probably took me a little bit longer, just because I wasn't feeling so well. But yeah, I mean, realistically a 2-day project, something you could do quite easily while you're travelling or watching TV, so completely recommend that. Check that out on my Ravelry page. I'm Sarah's Texture Craft on Ravelry. I've also then been knitting for a certain little baby that is due to arrive as my niece or nephew, end of April I think. And the gorgeous thing about baby knits is they are so quick. So in an afternoon I made this little bunny, which is like a bunny hanky type thing. Sure she'll hate me for saying it, but when my sister was younger she used to suck her thumb, and she always used to carry around a little hanky, and so while she was sucking her thumb she would stroke this hanky, and I always remember it, you know, when she was very little, her doing this. And so I thought it would be just really cute to have a version to give her baby. So, I mean, her baby may not even choose to suck his or her thumb. Some kids don't, but if they do, I just thought it would be really cute for them to, you know, sort of have, like, grab onto the little ear of Bunny and, you know, suck the thumb and drag it across the floor and so on. This was a pattern on Ravelry. I completely don't have Ravelry open, so you'll have to check my Ravelry page for the links to the patterns. I will put them in the show notes as well, at dreamingandfibre.blogspot.com. So check those out. It was a very easy pattern to do. It was just literally like a couple of hours, and the bottom part was literally like almost like a dishcloth pattern, if you like. So very simple, nothing complicated at all. So totally recommend that. Quite a little cute thing. Then I made a little cat hat. Now, heaven forbid that my sister gives birth to a child with a size head like this. But honestly, this is supposed to be for... I found this under the newborn section of Ravelry. And I think even if the child is like 2 years old, I'm thinking this might just barely fit. Which was, in a way, a little bit disappointing. I mean, my gauge wasn't hugely off. I know that I'm a loose knitter, so the hat would have come up a little bit bigger. And of course, babies will always grow into stuff that you knit that's too big for them currently, so there wasn't a huge disappointment there in that respect. I just would have liked it to have been the hat that maybe baby comes home in, you know. But it's totally cute. It's got little cat ears on it. Very easy to do. I just used 2 colours of DK. I used King Cole's Dolly Mixture yarn, which comes in 25-gram balls. I bought them for 89p each, I think. So it was a really good way of getting small amounts of colour to do your project. I think I used 1 whole ball of brown and then a bit extra of a second ball of brown to do this one. But yeah, really cute, very easy to knit. Again, literally like a couple of evenings work. Nothing too fancy at all. And then finally I have this. This is called the Magic Troll Vest, and again you'll find this on my Ravelry page, Sarah's Texture Crafts, Ravelry ID. This is, I think when I did the math, this probably works out to probably somewhere between the ages of 2 months and 3 months this should fit. I was aiming for the newborn, but again, I know my gauge is always slightly bigger, so I held this up actually against the little baby grows that I've got to dye for my sister, and they were for 3 to 6 months, and this was just a bit smaller than that, so I think, you know, maybe sort of 3 months and they should be wearing this. Again, I used 3 balls of the blue and one of the, well, in fact half of the green in that same King Cole Dolly mixture yarn. It's 100% acrylic, but it's nice and baby soft. The buttons came from the local print shop, which has also got a bit of a haberdashery and a yarn part to it up the back, which is Phillips in Crediton High Street. I think they cost me literally like pence. Very quick, very easy to knit. I would totally love to grade this up and continue knitting it just as the real easy go-to pattern for baby as it gets older. It's very unisex pattern as well, so colourings, because I didn't know whether I'm having a niece or a nephew, I wanted to do quite bright sort of summery colours, something that could be for a girl or a boy, so I thought blue-green, you can get away with that. And that's that one really. I have a couple of other projects that are in progress which you haven't seen, and I'm not showing you those just purely because I know I've got I've got quite a lot of dyeing and production to do over this next month, so I'm not entirely sure how much knitting time I will get, because I'm expecting some of that production to run into the evening for me. It's one of those situations where needs must. If you have time off, you have to make up for it, and pre-show, you know, it's all hands to the deck at as many hours as you can possibly fit into the day. So I thought to give us something to talk about next time, I would leave some of those projects until then. So that's really it for me today. I think I'm going to take my sorry little zombie sock head and go and make myself some lunch now, and try to edit this to get it up by the end of the day so I can get my newsletter out. So thank you very much for bearing with me today, and I hope to see you bright and early next month with lots of news and excitement. And just before I go, I've just seen on my wall chart that on the 22nd of March, don't forget that the new Fibre fleece, start that again, 22nd of March, the new Fleece Club spots will open. I have penciled in to open up 40 spots this year. We had quite a high number of people enter the Fleece Club last year. Details of that will be on the website from the 22nd. I can't promise there will be 40 spots. It will depend on my conversations with certain farmers, because at the moment I am struggling to find new fleeces for us, but we'll see how it goes. If you happen to have sheep out there and you would love for your fleece to be included in the Fleece Club, then contact me. You can contact me at sarastexturecrafts.com. There's a contact form there, get in touch. I would love to work with some more local farmers and find some new breeds, and the Fleece Club is a great opportunity to trial those fleeces. So that's that, and also the new back club will open next week on the 8th of March. I have carded everything for the first back club shipment. I had 5 people enter the club, which, yeah, is a small amount, but actually it turned out that it was about 10 bats needed, so it was an afternoon's work, which was quite nice. And of course it was the start of the back club, so I had no idea what to expect, and it's better to have a smaller first club rather than be overwhelmed and get something wrong. So I had the opportunity to really get that sort of hammered out and hopefully get the package together looking quite nice, and there's the back club spin along to go along with that, so don't forget that. Emails for dispatch will go out on that quite soon, and with that, I guess that's it for today. So as I say, thank you ever so much for bearing with me while I'm a little bit overtired and under the weather today. I'm sure I will be back to health pretty quickly, so thank you again for all of your support and emails over the last week or two. And with that, all I've got to do is say, I hope you dream in fibre, and until next time, happy crafting. Cheers.